My name is Emily Kapp, and joining me is,
Hi, I'm Katy Maiolatesi.
here we go.
Welcome. I guess I can go to the next slide.
Yeah,
All right.
Okay, who are we? Who is the Belladonna comedy? Well, we've been around. We are a publication on Medium, a satire publication. We launched back in February 2017, and we are a satire publication for women and non-binary writers for readers everywhere. So just a little quick, who we are, who's running this right now. We have three current managing editors who kind of oversee, the accepting and rejecting and the feedback of all our submissions. That's Kristen Mulrooney, Heidi Lux, and myself, Emily Kapp. And then we also have, I'll let Katie talk about this.
Yes, back in February, it was like really early February. We were brought on as social media coordinators. I think not to put you on the spot, Emily, other Emily was previously a social media person, but right now we have two of us, and it's Kelly Green and myself, and we run the social media side of the Belladonna. In many social medias, we're trying to open that up.
Okay. All right. So quickly, kind of what we typically try and look for when you submit your comedy piece to the Belladonna, like what we're looking for, what really stands out to us. One, just kind of like a strong character with an interesting point of view. You've probably heard like there's this, that like the same idea has already been done, but there's so many different ways to kind of write a humor piece to, portray the character or what they're thinking or their point of view. So it's always fun to see kind of a new way that someone spins that so that it's different from things that are already out there, which is difficult, but makes it a nice challenge. Another thing we look for is a unique premise, kind of similar, but like like the dogs is a common topic, for example. Like, but do you have a kind of new perspective on like something that dogs do, or maybe it's something like really niche that hasn't been talked about before, or just like a different perspective. We're always looking for, just new premises and just like again, not to hammer it down, but just kind of unique perspectives and characters within your piece. Another thing we look for are, well, especially me, I'm always fascinated by new forms. Um, so, a lot of, I feel like I can't say when satire got started because who knows what that was happening then. But a lot of things that we see is lists, which are like great, and kind of character pieces, which are again great, but kind of taking on and tackling a new format of how your satire piece is set up. For example, something that is just right off the top of my head, something that we recently published is a terms and conditions setup. I believe by
That's
Nat.
funny.
It was about um, breastfeeding, and it was a terms and conditioning, and it was so funny. So kind of unique and funny forms. That's another thing, at least that I look for and I'm always fascinated by. Something else, this is huge, specific funny details. So for your piece, like when you're writing, like the more like it's really in the details, I would say a lot of it, because these details are what people are going to relate to. It's the specificity is what's going to kind of heighten your piece, and again, just make it relatable and have people have that kind of eureka moment, like, oh yeah, like I do that, I experience that.
Yeah.
Um, that's really important. So make sure you're adding those. And another thing, I think this might be the last one I add on the list, and Katie, after this, if you want to add more, um, you know, say anything else about what I've already talked about. Heightening is really important. So we kind of talk about this a lot in any feedback that we email back, but heightening is important because in a brief description of what heightening is, you know, when you're writing your piece, it kind of has to, as it goes on, it has to, it's what we call kind of transform out of reality. So it kind of, that's what takes it from your piece being almost like a personal essay to something that is just extreme. That's kind of where the satire comes in. It's almost like it's not real life, but it's reflecting on, it's so extreme that it's making the reader be like, have this kind of this moment like, oh, like that's how bad it is, or that's how, I'm trying to think of a better way to say it because it's it's something that's really important. But
No, that work. I think that makes sense.
yeah, just
Yeah.
making sure as you're going on, like whatever's happening in your piece, it gets more extreme, it gets more absurd, it gets just weirder. Because you know, maybe not at the forefront, but it's kind of what your reader wants to see. If it just kind of stays grounded in, you know, in your everyday life, that's just, it's almost not really satire. It's really just kind of a peek into your life. We want to see it heighten and get weird, and that also gives it an opportunity for all those, what I talked about earlier, those funny details to come in and where the imagination can really kick in. So that's what a few things what we look for. If Katie, did you want to
Yeah, I'll just add that because we accept women and non-binary writers, it does provide a unique perspective. I think I was kind of like multitasking, so you might have touched on this, but that maybe that other publications don't necessarily portray. So it's like, it's really interesting to see, like you talked about that breastfeeding piece, like that's just not, I mean, maybe that would get in that someone else would kind of get that, but like I think because we're like a women run
Mhm.
publication, it provides opportunities for us to like kind of let our hair down, and writers and contributors and illustrators, and just be like, this is what's bothering me right now. I'm gonna write about it, and in like a satirical way. So I think that's really fun and important.
Well said.
Thank you. But yeah, those are tricky, and satire is tricky in itself, and like because the world is so crazy as it is, like it's like sometimes in the news it seems like satire already. So it's like
Mhm.
if someone can find a piece, someone can like hyper fixate almost on something that's so like weird, and go with that in a piece. That's something that's really interesting to read. Like sometimes a dog is just, it's just funny to talk in the perspective of a dog or whatever. Like that's satire because that's not something that would happen in real life. All right. And then we also, us editors and social media people put out like tips for writing every month. And I really enjoyed this one from my co-social media person, Kelly, which was dealing with rejection, because I mean, we deal with it all the time, even with sometimes within here, like it's just not good, that's which we need to know, or it's like not a good fit, or from other publications as well. So this was like a really good, this dealt with a lot of tips for rejection. And so we can drop the link to these, by the way. I just can't right now, but I will in a moment. I'll stop sharing and I'll drop some links. But something to remember that we highlighted from the piece is it's not necessarily personal. It can be if it's just like not funny, but it's not always personal. Sometimes it's just not a good fit. It's not what they're currently looking for. And this goes for like, I think all editors as well. I already kind of talked about this one. Yeah, definitely, I should say this, I should have added this bullet. Read the submission guidelines, like up and down, left to right. That might be a Nintendo cheat code from the 90s. But anyway, really look at it and know who you're submitting to, what kind of pieces they publish. Has that already kind of been published? Like not always can we find every single detail because sometimes they're hidden, but like just get a feel for that publication, and read the submission guidelines and follow those. Get others' eyes on it for feedback, even if you think it's like the best Yes, these are really good tips, aren't they? Even if you think it's the best, and it might be, but it's also good to get other eyes on it for feedback, for a different perspective. Like someone might catch something that like either will punch it up, will make it funnier, or they might say like, just you can cut this. That's, and you can get more than one perspective on it. As well, but like other people who are in a similar boat as you. So like in our case, other satire comedy writers would be good, like form groups, and also don't make it just one-sided. Say like, except say I'd love to see your pieces as well. Like don't just put it on other people, because that's happened before to me and probably to some of you here. Just like make it symbiotic. Even if your piece doesn't get accepted anywhere, which I can say has happened to me. I write sometimes very specific pieces for very specific publications and they don't get accepted, and I can't submit them anywhere else. That's okay. I mean, I still wrote it. I still did the work. So give yourself a little pat on the back. You did it. Even if that piece is like, and also you can self-publish, I should say. You don't, on Medium, you don't have to keep that alone, which, in your Google Drive, which I do sometimes, but you celebrate yourself. You did the work, you wrote. And then kind of related to this is just keep writing. Don't just be like, I quit, throw it away. Don't stop writing. You'll just get better. See what other people are writing, what's getting some accepted, and keep submitting to other places. I think not the Belladonna, of course. We got questions in the Q&A. Like definitely we love written pieces, see what we've already published, comics, see what already have been published, because it's a lot of work goes into it, but keep submitting it to places. I mean, the worst that can happen is they say no. Nobody's gonna be like, you suck. They might think that, but they're not gonna say it. And then also like, that just reminded me of the Belladonna. The editors do such a good job of actually giving feedback, because not all publications do that. So it's really, even if you get accepted, they give you feedback usually. Why do they like it? If it's a rejection, what you can work on for next time. So yeah, Marilyn, no writing is ever wasted. I agree. Writing's hard. It's not the easiest craft to do, but I love it. So it's fun. That's why I'm here. Yes, rejections and failures are the best teachers. I agree. And yes, it's all material. Yes. Even if like it didn't go anywhere, it's like food for thought for the future. Yes, a badge of honor. Constance, I agree. Okay.
True.
All right. I'll stop talking because we want to get into the Q&A session. You can put it right in the chat, or you can put it in the Q&A. They're both open. So if you want to talk on mic also, I can give you mic. If you'd rather do it that way, you can raise your digital hand. And I can do that. But I'm going to stop sharing because I want to put some links in the chat. So yeah.
And that was great, Katie. And I'm just putting as an answer to Deborah's nice comment, great rejecting guidelines. Kelly Green, one of our social media coordinators, she wrote a full writing tip piece about, dealing with rejection. So if you want to read the whole thing, that's on the Belladonna comedy on Medium.
I put the general website in there, and I'm going to find hers
That'd
as
be
well.
great.
I'm just going to drop a bunch of links on you guys. So, it's okay.
First question by Stephanie, are accepted articles and illustrations paid? So it is not, so through Medium, there's a program where you can get paid based on, if you opt in to this program to get paid, and it's also based on the amount of views that you're receiving. So you're not, I know there's some other publications in the satire world that give maybe a flat rate. Like if you could accept it and they publish it, they'll give you like 35, 20 bucks. It's a little different with the Belladonna. It depends if you opt in to that program, the Medium program, and then also if your article receives a lot of views. So the more views and engagement, the more money you can make off of it. Ashlyn, I love to read satire in Medium. However, I think it is important for readers to know it is satire from the beginning. Is there some kind of button that can be included to designate satire and humor before the reader begins? That's a good question. So I know that Medium, for every uh, piece, we always have our writers tag their piece.
Mhm.
So for example, to bring it back, maybe you're writing about dogs, but it's a humor piece. One way to do that is we want to reach as many people as we can. So like you can follow certain topics on Medium. So for that piece, if I wrote about dogs and it's a comedy piece, I would probably tag it dogs, pets, and then humor, satire, comedy. I always usually have those three. So it's kind of so that's what it's tagged as. Um, and at least for our site, we have comedy in the name of the publication. And I believe there's a way, Katie, if you have more information on this,
Yeah,
sometimes you can
it
have it at
says
the
right
top.
there. Yeah, at
Yeah.
the top. Yeah, it says satire. I think all of them. I'm gonna check. I'm probably like our humor tips don't, but I'm pretty sure. Here, I have so many tabs open. Here we go. Like for example, here's our latest piece. You can see, I'm gonna drop the link in the chat, and then you can see that it says satire humor at the very top. So like hopefully to answer your question, I feel like it does say right away for us. And that is a member only story, but so you can see like that as well. If you scroll down, like, and if you're not a member, it'll say become a member. But it does for our publication, it does say satire because we say please tag the word satire when you submit your draft. I hope that's
I
correct.
think I'm gonna go back and forth between Q&A and the chat just so we don't miss anybody. So Patricia, what's your typical response time and how much do you edit? So our response time max is 3 weeks, but typically if it's accepted, you'll receive an acceptance before that. But max for acceptance or rejection is 3 weeks. Um, but we do have, and that's for our general inbox. We also have a topical or timely inbox. So if something, it's not about holidays that happen every year. So if you write, Christmas or Halloween piece, you can't, we advise you not to send that Halloween piece on October 30th because Halloween happens every year. But if something in the news happens, that's going to be out of the news within a couple of days, you can send that to our timely inbox, and the max response rate is 48 hours. Again, we usually get back to you before that. Editing wise, we want to publish your piece as close to how you have it as possible because that's your piece.
Mm.
If there are things that in our opinion need editing, we'll usually request a rewrite request. And so, if you accept, you can go back and rewrite it and resubmit it. But for the most part, we do not do heavy editing on our own. Like if we think that something needs fixed, we will tell you, and usually you will go back and do that if it's accepted. So then how to repurpose this is from Constance, how to repurpose an essay or story to update it for a specific market or link to a current event.
Let's see, how to repurpose an essay/story to update a perspective or link to current event. Oh, like maybe if it's topical, like you just mentioned. I'm not sure, Emily, you might be able to answer this. I'm not sure if we actually have like links to stories go in our topicals.
Some authors
Some,
choose
yeah.
to, especially if it's more of a niche topical event, just because it seems like, as we know, politicians are always saying something, and on the internet, so there's so much content,
Yeah,
and sometimes it's easy to miss um,
yeah,
a more a current event just because there's so much going on. So we
there
do.
is.
It's really up to the reader, and if it is a really niche thing, we will sometimes advise someone to put a link in there. But I feel like a lot of authors who want to do timely pieces sometimes put either a quote from, an official
Okay, that's good.
site
Yeah.
like that. So that is totally up to you if you think it will help for context for people. But I'd say another way to do that is just you don't want a ton of exposition, you want to get into the funny stuff, but I think there's a way to add exposition to, that specific event
Hmm.
that you can reference to so that people are understanding. It's just a little bit of exposition.
I see. Yeah. Um, okay. Let's see.
Um,
What can you describe the typical author you work with? And I think that kind of goes with Raceland's question, but I can answer kind of both simultaneously. The typical author would be like someone who's, well, we do get new women and non-binary people a lot, which is great because it's so fun to see when they get excited, whether it's on their own social media or just in the email. But females who know what satire is, and non-binary people of the same what am I trying to say, like description. So anybody can submit, anybody who fits that qualification can submit. It doesn't have to be like some publications you have to like be admitted first, like if become a contributor and then you can submit. But we're at the Belladonna is not like that. So anybody can submit who fits those qualifications. And then Raceland, I can't, that sounds, I don't know. I can't imagine what that is like for you, but I think let's see, what is the thought behind putting them together to the exclusion of others? Yes, we get this question. Why do we exclude cis males? Because we feel like they have the opportunity to submit to wherever they want, and we have a place just for females and non-binary people. So it's hard out there for us. So we want to have a space that's unique to us and special to us, and it does exclude some people, some identities. And we do get questions here and there about that. But there's other places. So that's kind of what we say for that. Emily, if you want to add to that.
I think that was a good answer. Yeah, if you fit the qualifications, women are non-binary, we'd love for you to submit. I think something about the Belladonna that is what really attracted me to it is there's so many different perspectives. There's so many different types of writers. So I don't think we're really looking for a typical author because so many different people have different perspectives and different points of views that they're all different.
Mm-hmm.
We want to bring that. We don't, it's boring if it's always the same thing, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we really work with a typical author. We have
Yeah.
cartoonists who have different points of view and people who are, I don't know. We just different overall streamline this because I know we're running out of time. Just different points of
Oh
view,
yeah.
different life experiences that we want to hear about. So
Yeah, and I think, and we talked, Heidi, with one of the other editors, and I talked to Medium people the other day, and it was just like the founding people who started this were like, they just wanted a space to themselves, and that's why they started this, and we are trying to continue it in a loving, nurturing way, if that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Patricia. That's really sweet. Any other? Oh, Emily has a good question.
Uh, that's a tough one. And I was like, Emily, no, thank you. Thank you for sending the question.
Emily. No, I'm
She asked, what, if anything, would you like to see more of in your submission inbox? Which is a great question. But I'm on, which I'm honestly blanking on. Hi, yes, hello. Um, I think kind of going back, and this kind of snowballs off what I just said, and also in our main presentation, what we look for. It's really just, I love seeing, I feel like reading this to that, then I feel like I'm saying the same thing, but it's really how I feel. Um, I love seeing unique perspectives and really just when I see a topic that really hasn't been covered much, that's something that I like didn't even think of, but when I read it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so right. That is something that happens that I just haven't thought about. Like I love seeing that. I love
Mhm.
seeing um things that haven't really been covered, which again is hard, because it feels like everything has been covered, but I don't think that's necessarily true. Maybe a topic has been covered, but has it been covered in this way, how you think about it, how you feel about it? So I think we at the Belladonna are really lucky that we're receiving a lot of these submissions already. So I say keep them coming. Like bring your perspective, bring, what's happening to you, what's happening in your life. Like we want to hear about it because we want those perspectives.
And then I'm gonna try to like answer a bunch at once in the
Yeah.
Q&A. Deborah, yes, I got up one of my pieces boosted without doing anything the other day. That was great. That was really cool. By Medium, if you're not familiar, will like boost your publication, your pieces. So yeah, yes. Okay, I think you're writing comments about like tips. Ashlyn, I think what is the time latest? Like usually stuff that's like in the news is really strong. It's happening right now. A piece, we just had a piece that was like good weird versus bad weird, because the word weird has been all over the news, and it was really funny, and it was a great piece, and it was, yeah. So like stuff like that. Sometimes politics a lot of the time, but not always. So we had like an earthquake piece after the New York earthquake. It was that shook all of New York. And thank you. You all are really, really nice in the comments about having this space for just for us.
We're allowed to have that,
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Emily. That's really sweet. Yes, Patricia, miserable childless cat lady, or dog, in my case, dog lady. Thank
We had
you,
a question.
Vivian.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I might have missed something.
I typed it in response. Someone asked about the topical submissions email. It is belladonnatopicalsubs@gmail.com. I just wanted to say it out loud as well.
Cool.
Thank
And then
you.
I'm going to drop like a bunch of links, and then we got to probably wrap up because,
Yeah, we're at 11 Central.
yeah.
So and if we didn't get to your question or we lost it in the chat somehow, please just reach out to us, email us. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. Our email is, I just want to make sure, the Belladonna Comedy at Gmail.
Comedy. Yeah. Yeah. I'm dropping Instagram right now, and I'm about to drop
Thanks, Katy.
Twitter. You're
But yeah, we
welcome.
would love to answer your questions at any time. If you have a question, that's what we're here for. If for whatever, and yeah, Katy put our individual Instagrams, which is fine too. Yeah, reach out if you have questions. If we didn't get to yours today, or you think of one later, or you just didn't want to do it out loud, that's fine too.
Yeah. Thank
But
you, everybody. This was
yeah,
really
thank you so
fun.
much for joining. We had a good time.
Enjoy your other sessions today.
Yes, have fun.